Hey guys, welcome back. I know you missed me and Mrs. Rain's oodles and oodles while you were on spring break. I know I cried myself to sleep every night that I didn't get to see you. Glad you're back. We're going to be doing XSE, which means out. It is on page 60 of your Roots book, so please turn there now. You're going to need your pen or pencil and your highlighter, and let's get started. Alright, hopefully you've highlighted the root at the top and its meaning. Let's look at that paragraph before we look at our first word. Our word escape means breaking loose from any confinement, but it originally had a more picturesque meaning. Ooh, prettier, very nice. In Roman times, perhaps when a jailer was trying to hang on to a prisoner by his cape, the prisoner slipped out of his cape and left it in the hands of the jailer. The prisoner had escaped, from the roots es meaning out and cap meaning cape. He got out of his cape and gone free. I like that. Sounds like it would be really great in a movie, right? Alright, our first word, ebullient. It's an adjective and it means bubbling out or overflowing with enthusiasm, which makes sense because E means out and bull means to bubble or boil. Look for little planets this time. That's our other roots, and I think every word on this chapter has one, so you've got a lot of roots this week. Let's take a look at someone who is very ebullient. Alright, so you're going to find that this particular character, and we're only going to watch a few seconds, is extremely enthusiastic about everything. He is just overflowing with enthusiasm, which is the meaning of our word this week.
Hey, everybody, this is Parker. Parker, this...
No, wait, don't tell me. Let me guess. Joey, Monica, Ross, Rachel, and I'm sorry Phoebe didn't mention you. Chandler, I'm kidding already, you're my favorite. Why don't each of you tell me a little bit about yourselves?
Actually, I'm sorry, we probably should get going.
See, he's just way too excited about everything that happens. So, he is definitely ebullient, right? It doesn't have to be a bad thing, but I thought this was the funniest way to look at it. Alright, our next word is a face. It's a verb. It means to wipe out, which again makes sense because E means out and fac means face, so face out, right? Like wiping it off. And if you look here, you'll see an eraser. When you erase something from a paper, you're erasing it. You're getting rid of it, okay? Nothing could efface the memory of that storm. I like that sentence because it looks at kind of, rather than a literal meaning of the word, it looks at a figurative meaning. So you wouldn't actually erase the memory, like go in and take it out with an eraser, right? But it's the same idea. You can't wipe it away. You can't get rid of it. All right. Our next word is emigrate, and it means to move out of the country. So when we talk about immigrants coming in, that's I-M-M, right? This is E-M, with the E meaning out. So to move out, migrate, to move. And there are lots of reasons to emigrate from a country, but we're going to hear a little bit about what was happening. This is from 2011, 2012, I believe, over in Ireland.
Of 120,000 people will emigrate from Ireland this year and next, according to the ESRI. A separate survey by Eurobarometer.
So he was just talking about how many people were going to be emigrating from Ireland. So many people were going to leave Ireland to go somewhere else. Now he's going to tell us why.
Feels that more than 1/5 of the population is considering a move abroad to get work.
So people want to leave Ireland because they're not finding work, and they think if they leave the country, they emigrate to somewhere else, they'll be able to find a job. All right, our next word is emit. It is a verb, to send out, as a child emits a scream, or a factory emits smoke, right? So sending it out. And that makes sense. E meaning out, and mit meaning to send. So this is a very literal. If you know what the roots mean, you know what the word means. That's the beauty of roots, right? And I have a radar here because this word is really appropriate right now. I bet a lot of you have heard about the Malaysian airline, the plane that has gone missing, right? And part of what they've been talking about is how it's not emitting any signals. We don't have anything on radar from it. It kind of disappeared and we don't know where it went because it isn't giving us any feedback. It's not sending anything out to tell us where it is. So that's what emit means. I hope you're remembering to highlight and underline because you're supposed to do that. All right, our next word, enervate. It's a verb. To deprive of nerve, force, or vigor, to weaken, which again makes sense because nerve means nerve. That makes sense, right? And E means out, so out of nerves. They're gone. I liked this little word vocabulary web right here. It had the word enervate in the middle with the definition to tire or weaken. Antonyms, energize or excite, would not mean that. Those are the opposites. Synonyms, exhaust or drain. And then here's the sentence in context. Class was so enervating that I had to take a nap. My class would never be that way, right, guys? Or Mrs. Raines, we're way too cool for that. All right, or another example of the word here. If you look, here's Superman, and this is kryptonite. And kryptonite is one of the only things that enervates Superman. It just breaks him down. It takes all of his strength away. So, there you go. Our next word is eradicate, from the roots E meaning out and radic meaning root. It means to destroy. And if you look, there are lots of literal meanings here, and this one's really good. So to tear out by the roots is where the meaning of this word comes from. If you take something out by the roots, you are destroying it, right? So that's where that comes from. We don't only mean it to talk about plants, of course, but that's where the meaning of the word originates. All right, we're going to watch a little bit of a little commercial or report about something that's happening worldwide that involves the word eradicate.
Eradicating extreme poverty and hunger is the first of the 8 Millennium Development Goals.
So it's talking about the Millennium Development Goals. So these are goals that are set by the UN. That's why it says UN here, right? The United Nations. And one of the things that they would like to do is eradicate extreme poverty and hunger. So they want to take away, they want to destroy, they want to get rid of, they want to pull out by the roots. The fact that so many people in the world live on so little every day, and lots of people don't get to eat every day, right? So when we talk about eradicate, like I said, it doesn't just have to be something like a plant or eradicating a species when we let something go extinct or we cause it to become extinct, right? That's eradication too. It's not a good thing. This would be a positive kind of eradication, right? Getting rid of something that's bad for the world. All right. Excoriate. From the roots E meaning out and core meaning skin. And you're like, Ms. Naylor, how do those two roots, out of skin, mean to denounce harshly? Well, that is an excellent question. I don't have a good answer for it. I'm sorry. I wish I did. The only thing I've been able to think of to help you remember this is the idea that if it's like out of your skin, so when someone does denounce you harshly, and that's not a nice thing to do, to denounce someone. We do it a lot with like Vladimir Putin in Russia. So we're not a huge Putin fan, right? He does things that make us angry sometimes, like right now. He's trying to get Crimea back. Remember that? And the United States is saying, hey, guess what? It's the 21st century. You can't just invade a country and, take part of it. It's not allowed, whether they want to go or not. So we've been denouncing his actions. We've been talking about how we're not cool with what he's doing and it's not okay. So it's not necessarily a bad thing, but if someone denounces you, it can be done in a very mean way too, right? There was actually a guy involved in that same situation, one of the Russian officials, who tweeted about how silly the United States and Europe look right now by just like putting in some sanctions. And so that would be a good example of excoriating someone. But when you are denounced harshly, you don't feel very comfortable in your skin, so maybe that would help you remember it. This one's a little bit tougher to use the roots to figure out. Sorry, guys. All right. The next word is exonerate. Exonerate, from the roots E, meaning out, and owner, meaning burden. So like you're out of your burden. It's a verb, to free from a charge of guilt. So when we talk about exonerating someone, this is someone who's been charged, like they've been found guilty by the jury or the judge, And now we've realized we made a mistake. And we need to go back and exonerate them. We need to take away that charge of guilt because they aren't really guilty. We messed up. Okay? It's just a tiny little clip from Anderson Cooper that's about just this. It's people who get exonerated.
I'm certainly not a lawyer or jury, and I'm not saying, I can't say whether people are guilty or innocent, but sometimes people are fully exonerated after spending years in prison. I want you to meet a man named Greg Taylor, who was convicted of first-degree murder in 19...
So what Anderson Cooper's talking about here is that there's a man on his show who was convicted. He was found guilty by a jury. He was sent to prison. He spent 17 years in prison. And later on, they found out that they had the wrong guy. So not only was he let out of prison, but they had to say, like, they had to make a big thing about how he was actually innocent, right? So that's what it means to exonerate someone, to free them from their charge of guilt. Now this word, expatiate, is from the roots e meaning out and spatium meaning space or course, right? So out of the course or out of space. And it's one that you may not realize you're familiar with, but you probably are because you probably like when this happens. Sometimes teachers expatiate. We digress, digress meaning get off topic, right? Or it can also mean to speak or write at length. Probably not the version that you like very much, right? But it is a verb. So, I want you to think about it like this. We read the Pearl, right? And if we had been reading the Pearl, and then someone had brought up beaches, and we got onto kind of a sidetrack about where our favorite beaches were in the world or something, and then that took us on a completely separate track about who knows what, then that would be expatiating. We'd be getting off task. We'd be digressing to another topic. Again, it can also mean to speak or write at length. And again, it should be easy to remember. The roots tell you exactly what the word means. You've gotten off course. Expatriate. I like this word, mostly because I'm a big English nerd, and so, you know, makes sense because lots of writers, especially in the 1920s, were expatriates. It comes from the words roots e meaning out, and patria meaning native country, so you're out of your native country. And it's a noun, one who has left one's country or renounced allegiance to it. I brought up Hemingway because he's a kind of a cool dude. He wrote a lot of really great books, but he was one of a big group of people who, if you look here, it says, he wrote a book called A Movable Feast, published in 1965 after he died. It described his life and the lives of his friends in Paris during the 1920s, okay? And so if you scroll down, these are some other people who are living that same life, okay? And he went, this is that same picture actually, it's Hemingway, Hadley, and some other people, but Hemingway lived in Europe. He didn't live in the United States. He was an expatriate. He went and lived there, and that's where he wrote, and that's where a lot of his books take place. So that's what that means, to go outside of your native country, to leave it. Then we have expurgate, right? It's a verb. It means to take out obscene or objectionable material. It makes sense because it's out and to clean, so to clean out. We are most familiar with this with things like censorship, and not like you can't read that book censorship, but censorship in that, though that would also be expurgating now that I think about it. We usually experience it though more with things like when you're listening to the radio and there are blanks in the song, they just like skip over some words. There's a random spot where you know they said something but it's not there because the radio station decided those words were too obscene for their station, right? Or if you're watching TV and they bleep something out, right? I was gonna put a video in here of the pretend expurgating you've seen, like the joking where they bleep out words that aren't really bad words, but then it kind of sounds like they were, and I figured that wasn't a good idea. All right, then we have exterminate, out and boundary, so take things out, right? To destroy living things by killing off all individuals. Now I want you to look at the note at the bottom here. Exterminate and eradicate are nearly synonymous. Exterminate means to destroy utterly and is applied to insects or people. So this word is actually about killing things that live only, okay? Eradicate implies an uprooting and is applied to disease, fault, or prejudice. Good luck on roots, study hard, make sure you do the exercises, and keep up with your Kia. All right? Bye, guys.